If you're planning a trip this year, the rankings have shifted, with prices rising and ships getting more crowded. Picking the wrong line doesn't just mean bad food, it means a ruined holiday. There is one world-famous cruise line that just hit our worst list for the first time ever, and the reason why is going to shock you. We have cruised over 100 times on basically every major cruise line, and let me tell you, the game has definitely changed in 2026. So first up, let's take a look at the top 5 cruise lines of 2026.
So coming in at number 1 is Viking Cruises. Now, I know what you're thinking. I bet you're thinking, isn't that just for old people? Or don't they just do river cruises? Well, yes and no. Let us explain. Viking ocean ships are consistently at the top of almost every single cruise travel poll. And there's a very good reason for that. It's because they have perfected the art of no. No kids, no casinos, no umbrella drinks, no photographers jumping out at you while you're trying to eat dinner, no art auctions. We just love sailing with Viking because it is so relaxing. All the ships in the fleet are almost identical, which some people might not like, but the nice thing is you could be on the Viking Star, the Viking Saturn, or the brand new Viking Vesta, and you know exactly where everything is. It feels warm and comfortable and familiar. It's almost like you're coming home when you step on board. The design is very Scandinavian, which means lots of light woods and a very airy and open feeling. There's no inside cabins on these ships either. Every single room has a balcony, so you never have to worry about feeling claustrophobic. And here's the tiny bit of detail that makes a huge difference. The bathroom floors are heated. We absolutely love that. And it's those little touches that make Viking feel so premium. Oh my goodness, the food. It's gorgeous. The World Cafe, which is their buffet, is honestly better than some main dining rooms on other cruise lines. You also have to eat at Manfredi's. This is their Italian restaurant. On other cruise lines, it's like a specialty restaurant, and this would cost you $50+ in person. But on Viking, it's included. The steak there is arguably one of the best steaks we've had at sea. And if you have a sweet tooth, there's also the coffee shop Mamsen's. This serves Norwegian waffles with brown cheese. But the real star of the show for us is the spa. On most cruise lines, you have to pay extra for this, sometimes hundreds of dollars, to use the thermal suite. But on Viking, the thermal suite is included. They have a snow room, yes, a room with actual snow falling from the ceiling. You can sit in the sauna, get nice and toasty, and then walk into the snow room and cool off. They also have a giant therapy pool, steam rooms, and heated ceramic lounges. You can just walk in whenever you want. You don't even need to make an appointment. And like we said, it's all included. Let's be real here. Viking is expensive. The upfront price tag can be scary and off-putting when you first look at it. But the thing is, you've got to work out what you're going to be getting and factor that into the cost. Wi-Fi is included. Beer and wine is included at lunch and dinner. The thermal suites are included. And in every single port you visit, you get one free shore excursion. Usually, these included excursions are a panoramic tour, which is basically a bus ride to see the highlights, but it's perfect for you to get your bearings and see a new city without any pressure. The ships are small, holding under 1,000 passengers, so there's never any long lines, no queuing for 20 minutes in the hot sun. Everything just feels streamlined, high quality, and just easy. If you want a vacation when you don't have to think and comfort is your number one priority, Viking's going to be the one for you.
Number 2 is Royal Caribbean. Now, if Viking Cruise Line is a quiet cruise line with a nice glass of wine and a book, Royal Caribbean is basically a stadium full of people with lots of things to do. We have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Royal. We aren't huge fans of the high prices you pay for the newer ships, and sometimes the main dining room can be a bit, well, wedding banquet. You know what I mean. It's fine, but not blowing your mind. But you don't book Royal Caribbean for the steak. You book it because you want to be blown away by the ship itself and everything it offers. Especially in 2026, you have the new Icon class ships. These things are floating cities. They are absolutely bonkers and massive. You honestly need a map to get around for the first few days. They have neighborhoods, actual neighborhoods. There's the Central Park, which is like an open air park in the middle of a ship with thousands of real plants and trees. You can actually hear the birds chirping. Well, recorded ones anyway, but still, it's peaceful and it's beautiful. You can sit there with a roast beef sandwich from the park cafe, which is free by the way, and completely forget you're in the middle of the ocean. It is the most bizarre feeling ever. Then a few minutes away, you're on the boardwalk, which has a carousel, a hot dog stand, and people flying overhead with a zip line. It is crazy. The entertainment is jam-packed. We're talking full Broadway style shows like Grease and The Wizard of Oz. Not a 20-minute melody, the full show. They also have an ice skating rink with incredible shows, and they also have the aqua theatre at the top of the ship where high divers are jumping from 30 feet in the air into a tiny pool whilst the ship is moving. Now, if you have kids or teenagers or just those with a short attention span, this really is your cruise line. They have a water park with huge slides, surf simulators, escape rooms, laser tag. Honestly, you'll never be bored. A huge perk of Royal Caribbean is their private islands. Perfect day at Coco Cay and a few of their other resorts in the Bahamas. This isn't just a beach with a few chairs, it's actually a full-blown theme park, or should I say water park. They have the tallest water slide in North America, and for the adults, they just opened Hideaway Beach. Now there is an extra charge for this, but it's an adults only area with a DJ, a heated pool, and swim at bars. However, a word of warning, not all Royal Caribbean ships are created equal. You have those brand new Icon and Oasis class ships, but they also have some smaller ships as well, like the Vision class. Now these are great for more port intensive itineraries, but if you book some of these expecting huge water parks and neighbourhoods and diving shows, you're going to be very disappointed. So make sure you do a bit of research into which ship you're picking before you book. Also, we definitely recommend downloading the Royal Caribbean app because it's the best in the business and it just works. You can see all of the deck plans, chat with your family, book dinner, entertainment, and check your bill. It just makes navigating these megaships so much easier. It's definitely a must. So, if you want energy, if you want the wow factor, and if you want a vacation where there is something for every single age group, from toddler all the way up to grandma, Royal Caribbean definitely is the way to go.
Next up, we have the Mouse, Disney Cruise Line. Now listen closely, and let's get it out the way. If you're not a Disney fan, this might be totally pointless for you because you will be paying a lot, and I mean a lot. Disney is one of the most expensive cruise lines on the market, sometimes double the price of Royal Caribbean. If you hate Mickey Mouse, you're paying premium for something that you will not appreciate. But if you have even the tiniest bit of nostalgia for Disney, or if you just appreciate the incredible service, there is something magical about a Disney cruise. It's really hard to explain, but there is a smell. I'm not joking, the ships have a specific smell. It smells like cookies and sea salt and childhood happiness. For us, it just reminds us of our first ever cruise, and it brings back so many memories. I know it sounds really cheesy, but seasoned cruisers know exactly what I am talking about. The crew on Disney are unmatched. They're some of the best in the business. They are trained to make you feel really special. They'll learn your name, learn what drinks you like. They even do little magic tricks for the kids and sometimes the adults at dinner. It's the little details that you are paying for. This video is sponsored by Surfshark. You might think, why do I need a VPN when traveling on a cruise? Well, first, access. Only the other day we were trying to pay some bills and log into our bank back in the UK, but unfortunately the websites had been blocked. Surfshark lets us get around that by connecting back to our home country, or literally anywhere in the world we want to be. Virtually, of course.
There's loads of different reasons that we use a VPN for safety whilst online and watching our favourite streaming services no matter where we are in the world. And it works on all of our devices, phones, laptops, iPads, you name it, so we're connected and secured across the board.
It also includes extra tools like Surfshark Alert, which monitors for data breaches and notifies you if your personal details show up in a leak. So, if you want to avoid one of the easiest tech mistakes you could make on a cruise, go to surfshark.com/Ben and David, or use the code Ben and David at the checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. The ships themselves are beautiful. The older ships are designed to look like classic ocean liners from the 1920s. The outsides of all the ships have lovely black hulls, red funnels, and elegant Art Deco interiors. It doesn't feel like a theme park on board, It feels like a luxury hotel that just happens to have Goofy walking around. One thing we love is the rotational dining. Instead of going to the same restaurant every single night, you rotate through different themed restaurants, but your waiters also move with you. So you get to try different environments, maybe an under the sea one night, and maybe in a Marvel restaurant the next, but your waiter already knows that you want that Diet Coke with no ice. One of the restaurants, Animator's Palette, puts a whole show on where the drawings on the walls come to life while you eat. It's just fun. Another massive perk for families is the cabins, and in particular the split bathrooms. Most cruise cabins only have one tiny bathroom, but Disney splits it. One room has a sink and a toilet, while the other room has the sink and a shower and a small tub. This means that somebody can be getting showered while the other person's using the toilet. It saves so many arguments and makes getting ready for dinner a little bit quicker. And the movies, because Disney owns, well, everything, they play first-run movies in their onboard theatre. So, if a Marvel movie comes out on a Friday, they'll be playing it on the ship on a Thursday. How cool is that? For 2026, keep an eye out for the new Disney adventure sailing from Singapore. Now, this is going to change everything because this ship is massive, and you've also got the brand new Disney Destiny, which has just came out. But here's the secret: Disney isn't just for kids. The adults only areas are fantastic. They have adults only pools, coffee bars and nightclubs. We've sailed Disney as a couple with no kids and we've had an absolute blast. You can drink a cocktail in the pink bar and completely forget that there's 2,000 children on board the ship.
Alright, number 4, and this one might surprise you because it's MSC Cruises. And yes, if you've been around on this channel for a while, we have heavily criticised MSC Cruises in the past, from bad service to bland food and the ships being too crowded. There is a stipulation here. We are mainly talking about one specific thing, the Yacht Club. This is MSC's suite product and it's the best kept secret in cruising. You can often book a suite in the MSC Yacht Club for less money than a regular balcony cabin on the new Disney or Royal Caribbean ships. It's basically a ship within a ship concept. You have a key card that lets you into private areas at the front of the ship. In there you have things like a private lounge called the Top Sail Lounge with free drinks and snacks all day. The views here are actually better than the captain's view on the bridge because it's a deck higher. You also have a private restaurant with things like filet mignon and lobster, and it's infinitely better than the food on the rest of the ship. You have a private pool deck with a buffet and hot tubs where you never ever have to fight for a chair. Plus, get this, you get a butler. A real butler who will unpack your suitcase, escort you to the theatre, escort you off the ship when you want to get off, and make sure that you have absolutely everything you need. It feels like you're on a luxury 6-star cruise, but you still have access to the rest of the megaship if you want. You can still go ride those water slides or watch the Formula 1 simulator, and then you can retreat back to your quiet, luxurious bubble. Also, MSC absolutely has some of the best pizza at sea. They are an Italian company and they know what they're doing with dough. Even if you don't want to stay in the yacht club, go get the pizza. Another massive tip for MSC is their status match program. This is something almost no other cruise line does like MSC. If you have a loyalty status with Hilton, Hyatt, Marriott, or even other cruise lines, MSC will match it. So you could step on your first MSC cruise and already be a gold or diamond member with free perks like specialty dining or a welcome gift. All you have to do is fill out a form on their website before you go. If you're booking a regular cabin on MSC, manage your expectations. The ships themselves are absolutely beautiful. MSC builds some of the most gorgeous ships at sea, full of Swarovski crystal staircases and Italian design. But the buffet can be a bit chaotic. We're talking about survival of the fittest chaotic. And the service can be a little bit hit and miss because the crew are dealing with so many people. But you can get MSC cruises for an absolute steal bargain, and sometimes it can definitely be worth it if you're on a budget. But if you can stretch your budget to try the Yacht Club, do it. It's so much better than most other cruise lines, and often for half the price of luxury competitors.
Number 5 is Celebrity Cruises, and these are the top of our leaderboard right now. We're actually on the Celebrity Millennium right now, which is their oldest ship, and they're just doing everything right. From their oldest ship, this one, right up until their brand new ships in the Edge class. They just seem to be really hitting the sweet spot for us. It's the Goldilocks of cruise lines. It's not quite as expensive as the luxury lines, but it feels so much more sophisticated than the budget lines. We absolutely love the design of the Edge class ships. The public areas are just so modern and sophisticated, but quirky and interesting. One downside is though, they do have those infinite veranda cabins. This is where the balcony is actually part of the room, and with the push of a button, the top window slides down to turn your whole room into a balcony. Now, it does make the room feel huge compared to a standard cabin, but we really do miss having a traditional balcony. There are traditional balconies on board, but there's not as many. The food on Celebrity is fantastic. Out of all the major mainstream cruise lines, we feel they have the best main dining room food and the best buffet. The Ocean View Cafe, that's what they call their buffet, and the food stations serve freshly made pasta, stir fries and incredible desserts. They haven't cut back on quality as much as some of the other lines have recently. You also have to visit the Martini Bar. It's an icon on Celebrity. The bartenders don't just pour the drinks, they also put on a show. They juggle bottles, they pour massive 12 martinis at once. It's always the most energetic spot on the ship before dinner. They also have a venue on the newer ships called Eden, and also the Bazaar. It's this massive 3-story glass venue at the back of the ship filled with plants or screens. It's weird, but in a good way. In the day, it's a quiet lounge with great views, and at night, it turns into a performance art space and a nightclub. It's very unique. If you can push to stay in a suite, their retreat area is exceptional. It's similar to the MSC Yacht Club, with a private lounge, a private sun deck, and a private restaurant called Luminaire. The food at Luminaire is some of the best we've had at sea, and is often better than specialty restaurants. But even if you're just in a standard cabin, you're going to have a great time. On the new ships, they have this orange platform that hangs off the side of the ship. It's called the Magic Carpet, and it's such a cool place to have a drink and watch the sunset. It actually moves up and down on the side of the ship to different decks to become different venues. They're also spending millions of dollars upgrading their older ships to bring them up to date, so you don't have to worry too much about booking an older ship. Now, we're not being paid to say this. On our recent cruises with them, they've just been such a hit. It feels grown up, it feels lovely, and it's perfect for couples or groups of friends, or families who don't need a roller coaster or water slides to have lots of fun.
There are some cruise lines that we are absolutely avoiding in 2026, and if you care about your wallet, you'll probably want to do the same. Prices are skyrocketing while quality on these specific ships is hitting rock bottom. We're talking filth and bad food. We're sharing the honest truth so you don't ruin your vacation.
Number 1, Costa Cruises. Now, if you're imagining a peaceful, relaxing, quiet vacation, then you need to run in the opposite direction. Seriously, our experience with Costa Cruises was less La Dolce Vita and more survival of the fittest. Now, we've been on a lot of ships, but walking onto a Costa ship felt like you'd stepped into a tacky neon nightmare. It tries to look like Las Vegas, but it feels more like a cheap knockoff that hasn't been updated in 20 years. There's plastic everywhere, bright garish colours that hurt your eyes, and it just lacks any kind of class or warmth. And that would be fine if the experience made up for it. Sometimes a fun, tacky ship is a laugh, but here the experience was just stressful. Let's talk about the food, because this is usually the best part of a cruise. On Costa Cruises, the buffet selection is what I'd imagine a zoo looks like at feeding time. It's absolute carnage. It's not just that the food is sloppy, and I mean, it barely looks edible sometimes, like it's been scooped out of a bucket. It's the atmosphere. It's pure chaos. People are pushing, shoving, shouting over the trays. There is zero organisation. You are standing there with your plate, getting elbowed in the ribs by somebody desperate for that last slice of cold pizza. And the hygiene? Well, that's the scary part. We saw tables left dirty for ages, sticky floors that made your shoes squeak, and a general lack of cleanliness that made you want to keep a bottle of hand sanitizer glued to your palm. In the restaurants, the service was non-existent. You sit there, waiting for water, waiting for a menu, and the staff just rush past you. They look exhausted, and frankly, like they don't want to be there. Neither did we. The organisation of the entire ship was a total circus. Getting on and off was a nightmare. We tried to ask a crew member where the gangway was, and it was like we were speaking an alien language. The communication is just terrible. Nobody knows where anything is or what is happening on board. And don't even get us started on the nickel and diamond. You pay for your ticket and you think, great, right? Wrong. On Costa, it feels like they're trying to charge you for the air that you breathe. Want a slice of pizza? Charge. Want water at certain times? Another charge. Want some French fries? Sure, but there's a charge. It's relentless. No, the entertainment was the final nail in the coffin for us. It felt like we had travelled back in time to the 1980s, and it was a bad talent show at that. The costumes were old, the dancing was out of sync, and it was just, well, weird. And not in a fun way. It's no wonder Costa Cruises has consistently rated one of the worst cruise lines out there on Cruise Critic. And it's not just us saying this, look at the reviews online. It's heartbreaking because we think Italian cruising could be so stylish and delicious. But this, it's just a hard pass for us in 2026.
Number 2 is Cunard, and this one really does hurt us a little bit because we are British and we wanted to like it. We really did. Cunard sells itself on this idea of the golden age of travel. You think of the Titanic, without the sinking part, white gloves, high tea, pure luxury. But the reality, it felt like a costume party where everyone is pretending to be posh, but the house is falling apart. We sailed on the Queen Mary 2 and honestly, we were shocked. This is an iconic ship, a true ocean liner, the only one left in the world. But it looked tired, and not charming, historic tired, but neglected tired. There were worn carpets, scuff marks on the walls, and rust in places you just wouldn't expect. It just didn't feel grand. It felt like a hotel that used to be 5 stars 20 years ago and hasn't really been painted since. The biggest letdown though was the food and the weird class system. On Cunard there is very strict hierarchy. If you pay a fortune for the Queen's Grill Suite, you'll probably get great food and an attentive service, but for us regular folks in the main dining room, it was poor. I'm talking cheap ingredients, bland flavours, and portions that leave you still hungry. And here's the kicker. You have to dress up for it. So you're sitting there in a tuxedo or suit feeling all fancy, and they serve you a dinner that tastes like a microwave meal. It just feels so fake. It's fake posh. You're playing the role of a wealthy traveller, but eating budget rubbish food. And we were so excited for afternoon tea. I mean, it's Cunard. That's their thing, right? We expected fresh warm scones, delicate pastries, and the perfect service. But it was just disappointing. The sandwiches were dry at the edges, the cakes were average, and the service seemed rushed off their feet. We've had better tea at a local garden centre cafe back home, and the buffet, well, it was a shockingly bad quality, it was repetitive and just not tasty. There's this vibe on board that if you aren't in one of the top suites, you're second-class citizens. Does it remind you of anything like Leonardo DiCaprio in that famous film? It's stiff. It is stuffy. We were bored out of our minds because the entertainment was practically non-existent or just very dull. So if you like listening to a harpist in silence for 2 hours, maybe it's for you. But we wanted some life, some energy. Now, to be fair, we did go on their brand new ship, Queen Anne, and we actually enjoyed it. The food and entertainment were much better there. But that just makes it worse for the older ships like Queen Mary 2 and Queen Victoria. It proves that they can do it, but they're letting their older icons rot. We've seen a tirade of terrible reviews lately, which back this up too. People are paying premium prices for a budget experience in a fancy wrapper. Now, unless you're spending top dollar for the grill suites, it's just not worth the money in our opinion.
So for the next one, we're going to be sticking with the British theme, and it's going to be P&O Cruises. Now, if you're from the UK, you will know P&O Cruises. They're pretty much the go-to cruise line for most Brits, and they're absolutely huge. But for us, they're sliding down our list faster than a hot dog on the 4th of July. P&O Cruises used to be this lovely traditional line, but in the last few years, they've tried to transform themselves into the Carnival of the UK. They've just launched these mega ships, Iona and Arvea, dropped the prices to the rock bottom, and basically turned them into massive family resorts at sea. If you're American, think of a budget motel that floats. And if you're British, think of Butlins, but at sea. And look, if you like the energetic, busy vibe, it is great. There's nothing wrong with Butlins, but it's not what P&O Cruises used to be, and for us, it feels cheap. The ships themselves feel uninspiring. You're sailing to these beautiful, exotic places, the Caribbean, the fjords, but inside the ship, It's so bland that you could be in a shopping mall in Birmingham or a leisure centre in Manchester. We go on cruises to get away from daily life, but P&O Cruises feels like you've dragged the UK along with you, grey vibes and all. The food is another major issue. It feels like mass catering, and it's the most basic. It's just fuel to keep you going. It's not a meal or an experience. The real problem though is the atmosphere. Because they have dropped their prices so low in the last few years, the ships are absolutely packed. Every single venue is completely full. They are bursting at the seams. The pools are overflowing, and we've never seen so many reports of fights, shouting matches, and complete scraps over sunbeds. It's just bad behaviour on board. But the thing that's really turned us off in the last few years is the cruise line's attitude. We don't like their company ethos. They seem to treat their passengers poorly when things go wrong. Just recently, one of their ships had a major engine issue. Now, we get it. Ships break, weather happens, and things do go wrong. But P&O Cruises' first reaction was complete silence. No compensation, no proper apology. Just a deal with their attitude. It was only after passengers started rioting on social media, contacting the press and complaining loudly that they finally offered something. And it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. When a maintenance issue ruins your holiday, that is the cruise line's own fault. Own the problem and fix it. Don't make your customers fight for scraps of fairness until they fix their customer service and decide which cruise line they want to be. A class act or a booze cruise. We're going to stay away.
Okay, number 4. Embrace yourself, Effie, because this one is Virgin Voyages. We have raved about Virgin Voyages in the past. We don't hate them. In fact, we've had many good cruises with them. But for 2026, unfortunately, they're going on our avoid list. Here's the problem. They're just stale. Virgin Voyages exploded onto the scene a few years ago, and they were so cool. So different. No kids, great food, hammocks on the balcony. It really was the shake-up the industry needed, but they haven't changed. Look, we need to have a talk about Virgin Voyages, and before the Scarlet Lady stans come for us in the comments, we don't hate them. We still really like them, but for now, in 2026, we're on a break. We've given them the benefit of the doubt for a few years, but it's like that partner who never listens. We keep telling them what's wrong, and they just keep nodding and doing the same thing. The food, phenomenal. Getting a seat to actually eat in it, a complete nightmare. If you aren't hovering over your phone the second the reservation's open, you're basically relegated to the quick service life. And look, the galley is a cool concept, but I didn't book a cruise to eat buffet adjacent food every night because the Pink Algarve was booked out since 2024. And don't get me started on the tech. Virgin marketed themselves as this high-tech disruptor brand, but the app and the technology, well, is still a mess in 2026. Constant crashes, error pages, and the spinning wheels of death. They've updated it more times than I can count, but yet here we are. Other lines have figured this out years ago, so why is Virgin still stuck in dial-up mode? And then there are the cabins. At first, the design felt fresh to us, but now, after a few years, we're seeing the IKEA showroom everybody else was talking about. The bed to sofa conversion, it's a hard no from us and everybody we've ever spoken to. Even the crew have seemingly given up on it. The problem is, Virgin have had 6 years to fix this. Everybody complains about it, but they haven't done anything on their newer ships. Just convert it to a blooming bed. It'll look so much better and just be more comfortable. But the breaking point for us was last summer. It was just a mess on our cruise, and we still had to fight every single night for a reservation in one of the dining venues. The ship was so rammed, it felt less like a luxury getaway and more like an overcrowded festival. When a Virgin Voyages ship is full, it really shows. The venues are way too small for the capacity. We're talking lines forming for an hour or even 2 before a show starts. And the pool, well, it's total people soup. No room to move, let alone swim. Now, we're not saying goodbye forever, and we're not saying that you shouldn't cruise Virgin because they are great, but we're just saying we need some space until they figure out the logistics. We want a vacation, not a week of waiting in lines and refreshing an app until our thumbs hurt.
So before we move on to number 5, we want to give a big shout out to our patrons. If you'd like to support our channel further, you can join our Patreon crew. In return, you receive extra benefits like all of our videos completely advert free. We also upload them early. Plus, we do bonus videos that are just exclusive to Patreon. And we also do a monthly Zoom chat and much more. If you'd like to find out more, click the link in the description section below. Now, let's move on to number 5, and this one does hurt us a little bit. It's Norwegian Cruise Line. We used to love Norwegian Cruise Line. If you've been watching our channel for a while, you'll know that we used to cruise with them a lot. They were pretty much our go-to cruise. They were freestyle cruising, so that meant no fancy dress codes. They used to do great deals, everything was relaxed, they were fun, but lately they've just become the king of nickel and diming. It feels like the accountants have taken over the company and they're squeezing every single penny out of all the passengers. The cruise fares have gone up, but the quality has gone way down. They are literally cutting everything. We've heard so many reports about them firing entertainment teams, so the big Broadway shows that they used to be famous for are disappearing or replaced by cheaper options. They're cutting crew, so the service is even slower, and you can really feel it on board. Their staff look stressed and overworked, and that's because they are. We sailed on the Norwegian Epic a while back, and frankly, it was awful. The ship was in a terrible state, dirty, run down with rust everywhere. It just felt like nobody cared. It finally received a makeover, but we're still getting messages from viewers who say that the older ships are now looking rough and need some serious love. And it's the constant policy changes that are really insulting. Recently, they started charging a service charge for main dishes in the dining room if you wanted a second one. So, if you're hungry and you want 2 steaks, well, you have to pay extra. Then they changed the room service policy. You used to be able to order whatever you wanted, but now they limit you. You can only have 1 hot and 1 cold dish per person at breakfast. I mean, who does that? It feels so stingy. But the biggest slap in the face for 2026 was their private island, Great Stirrup Cay. This used to be a highlight. A beach day with free drinks if you had the drinks package. But beginning March the 1st, if you have the standard drinks package, which costs a lot of money by the way, you can't use it on the island anymore. You'll have to pay extra for drinks on the beach. They're basically trapping you on an island and forcing you to pay up. This used to be a huge perk and they've just snatched it away. It feels like a trap. You get on board and suddenly you're paying extra for everything. The specialty dining is delicious, we will give them that. We love Le Bistro and Cagney's, they're great, but their dining is so expensive now. And because the main dining room food and the buffet have gone downhill, you kind of feel forced to pay for the specialty restaurants just to get a good meal. It feels now like it's profit over people. They've taken this laid-back, flexible product and turned it into a restrictive, money-grabbing machine. The new ships like the Prima class have weird designs with tiny entertainment venues and strange layouts where you just feel cramped. Now, here's the twist. We are actually booking a Norwegian cruise this year. I know, we said we would avoid them, but they're launching a brand new ship, the Norwegian Luna, so we're going to give them one last chance, just to see if the new ship is different and if they've listened to the feedback. If we didn't have a YouTube channel, we probably wouldn't risk our own money, but we wanted to report back to you guys. We're curious, but we're going to go in with our eyes wide open and our wallets firmly closed. So these are the lines that we're steering clear of. It's a shame because cruising is our favourite thing in the world. We feel lucky every time we get on a ship, and honestly, we would rather be on a bad cruise than at home doing some laundry. But we want you to have the best vacation possible.
Now, everybody is completely different. What we hate, you might love, and that's absolutely fine. And that's the great thing about life, isn't it? Everybody has different opinions. If we were all the same, it would be very boring. This is just our opinion. But I'm dying to know, what about you? What cruise lines recently have you had a bad experience from? Let us know in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to watch another interesting video, click the screen right now. We know you want to. That's it till next time. Happy cruising!